Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Kuni II, Revenant Kingdom. This game was lent to me by my buddy Igor, so thanks Igor. It's been a while since I played the first Ni no Kuni. I do remember it fondly, but I also had some negative feelings towards it lingering. Like, the game length felt a little too long for me from what I can remember. Sometimes it felt kind of grindy, but if you do want to hear my full thoughts on that, then you are welcome to go watch that video. This game takes a pretty large shift gameplay-wise. The first one, from what I remember, is more aligned to something like Pokemon Legends, where you summon these familiars and these familiars do the battles for you. This one plays a lot more like a Tales game, where it is an action RPG. I am controlling the main character, I am dodging out of the way and blocking and using my abilities directly rather than channeling it through a familiar. I was kind of bummed that there wasn't that monster training aspect in this one as much as there was in Ni no Kuni 1, but to replace these familiars are these little spirits by the name of Higgledies, and we'll get more into that later. The story is also pretty different from the first one in that instead of playing a young boy in Ni no Kuni 1, it originally starts as you watching the president of the United States, and he's driving towards a city, and that city gets blown up. And during that cataclysmic event, he is transported to the world of Ni no Kuni. Now, apparently, during the timeline of Ni no Kuni, like, a long time has passed. I'm not sure exactly how much time has passed, but I do know this takes place after the first Ni no Kuni game and after the Ni no Kuni movie on Netflix. The tales of Ni no Kuni 1 are now ancient legends. But one thing that did carry from both of the games is the town Ding Dong Dell. And in the first game, this is like one of the first major cities that you approach. It is a city ran by cats. In this one, Ding Dong Dell is a giant empire essentially, but there is a coup from the mouse folk, and the king's closest advisor, Mousinger, has poisoned the king, and now they have taken over because they were oppressed by the cats, and now they want to take over Ding Dong Dell and oppress the cats in return. This is rather unfortunate for the king's son, a young boy named Evan, and so the ex-president of the United States kind of takes Evan under his wing as he teaches him what it means to be a true leader. And so Evan's goal isn't initially to try and retake Ding Dong Dell. He wants to build his own kingdom, and his main dream of his kingdom is to unite all the kingdoms and to completely eliminate war. So for the majority of the game, you're going around to these different kingdoms and you're trying to enlist the leaders of these kingdoms to sign a peace treaty. So building your own kingdom is a very large chunk of this game. It has that city builder management that you would expect from a typical mobile game, kind of like Clash of Clans, where you are doing research to upgrade your character with passive abilities, or upgrade your weapon shop so that you can buy and upgrade your weapons to perform better. You can upgrade your Higgledies so that they know new abilities and you can power them up. And I'm usually not a big fan of the whole kingdom management builder, especially when it takes a more mobile game approach. There's even an option to spend currency, not real life currency, thank goodness, but an in-game currency to kind of speed up the researches that are being done. And you slowly accrue this currency over time. You just have to wait for that currency though. And so a big section of upgrading your characters means that you really have to engage with this kingdom building management sim. And I think this could have been really good if it was done right. Like, I enjoy playing RTS games like StarCraft and Warcraft, where I get to kind of build this kingdom. Maybe it would be cool if I had to like ward off enemies and it played more like an RTS game compared to a mobile app, but unfortunately that's not really the case. And so I found that aspect to be one of the weaker points in this game. I did enjoy the aspect of going around to all the different kingdoms though. It provided a nice variety of aesthetics. It wasn't the really traditional biomes that you would come to expect. So like one of the first cities that you go to is a city of these dogs, and they rely on Lady Luck to make all the decisions. So they're always rolling the dice, but you do find out that the luck is not as lucky as it would appear. And I just think they had some really unique, original ideas in terms of these lands that you visit. It is broken up in chapters, and as you can imagine, there you have your main quest, but you also have all these side quests that can spring up over time. And fulfilling these side quests can often provide you citizens to move to your kingdom to help your kingdom flourish, and so you're really incentivized to do these side quests. Especially because at the end of the game, you need to upgrade your kingdom to a certain level in order to finally beat the main story, and so you need to recruit at least 50 of these citizens. And so I found myself doing the main story, kind of ignoring a lot of the side quests like I do and the city management, but then I found myself hitting this wall because in order to progress the story to find out how it ends, I need to go around the whole world and do all these side quests. It's not too bad because you have access to a lot of fast travel locations, and so I was able to do all those side quests within a couple hours, but still it's kind of a bummer that it forces you into doing all the side fluff if you don't want to. And I never really felt the need to do these side quests or grind because I usually kept up to the same level as my enemies despite not doing the grinding and the side quests. And that was the case for the majority of the game until near the end when I found myself underleveled, and even then it wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't struggle that much against some of the final enemies. I mostly just had to carry around healing potions to keep my HP bar topped off. There is another combat mechanic in this game, and I only really engaged with it for maybe about 5 different segments, but it acts more like a Pikmin-esque kind of system where you are actually controlling like a mini army and you are navigating around this field from a bird's eye point of view, and you have to like control your army troops and take down walls and siege castles. And this gameplay was fine, but I much preferred the main gameplay mode that plays more like an action RPG. So as you can imagine, the President, Roland, and Evan acquire a couple other party members that can join you on this adventure. I didn't find the computer players that you weren't directly playing as to be too dumb. It seemed like they kind of managed themselves without me really having to worry about commanding them or having to keep their health topped off. Now, there are exceptions, especially when you're fighting enemies that do these big AoE attacks. I found often the CPUs wouldn't have the intelligence to run away. They just kept on attacking. But there's the typical RPG tropes here, right? You got your equipment that can boost up your stats. You can get new abilities and new spells, and you can upgrade all of this via your kingdom that you're building. You can also equip these higgledies that I mentioned earlier, and they kind of take the place of the familiars, and these just act as little spirits. They aren't nearly as unique looking, and there's not as much variety as you got with the familiars in the first one, but they were something, and they just kind of do little buffs, little attacks, but occasionally there will be a ring that appears underneath them. And if you go and interact with that ring, then they'll do like a little stronger attack. Like they'll launch a cannon at the enemy, or they will heal up you. Certainly not as interactive and effective as the familiars, but I think I prefer taking direct control of the combat rather than just commanding a familiar to do the combat. So even though I'm bummed about the lack of variety in these higgledies, I did like the main gameplay better in this one than the first one, I think. There is a big chunk of game that is sectioned off called these Dreamer Mazes, and I think there's 9 Dreamer Mazes total, and you'll get some big reward if you complete them all. I don't know what it is because I didn't do it, but these Dreamer Mazes have this timer, and the difficulty of the enemies in these Dreamer Mazes slowly gets stronger and stronger, but as you defeat these enemies, you acquire a currency, and you can use this currency to drop down the enemy difficulty, or you can use it to unlock chests that you come across. And at the end of all of these Dreamer Mazes, there is a boss that you have to take down. I thought that this was a unique gameplay aspect. It's encouraging you to kind of take your time and navigate to get all these good items and all these orbs, but also you want to hurry and find the door to the next level as soon as possible because you don't want the enemy level to get too high and too unbearable. This is also the Prince's edition of the game, so it has a lot of extra DLC. I played through one side quest because I was the appropriate level for it, where you kind of go into this dream and you encounter this strange character with a big bunny head, and that was kind of trippy. But there are also some pretty, I wouldn't say difficult bosses, but they were definitely like bullet sponges, where it took a long time to take these bosses down. But you can get some really good equipment from taking these bosses down by doing this extra DLC content. Aesthetically, the game looks nice, as you can imagine. If you like that cel-shaded look from something like Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and if you enjoy the aesthetic of Studio Ghibli, I think you will be rather pleased with this game. Unfortunately, it is severely lacking the Studio Ghibli cinematics that were present in the first game. That always felt like a big reward to me whenever I finally got to a new city or I defeated a boss or something like that. You get this really cool cinematic actually made by Studio Ghibli, and it's just kind of missing in this game. And the cinematics themselves just felt kind of lacking to me, and there seemed to be a lack of voice acting. During the really important moments, you might get a quick in-game cutscene and some voice acting, but other than that, you're just basically reading text while the characters are making the little noises. Huh? Who? Oh, I see. If you've ever played an RPG game of this style, then as you can imagine, there is a ton of extra side content you can go into, and you can really increase your gameplay length in this game if you are that completionist. For me, doing the main quest and then all the necessary side quests in order to finish the main quest, it took me between 20 and 30 hours. I really don't have an accurate measurement of that because the game timer runs even when my Nintendo Switch is put to sleep. And so by the end of the game, my file said that I put something like 400 hours into this game, which is silly, but it also works to your advantage because your kingdom research and the currency that slowly accrues over time will also happen while your system is put to sleep, which is, it's nice because it kind of incentivizes you to take little breaks in order to get more of these currencies to finish up your researches and build up your kingdom. Overall, yeah, I think I liked the story. I like the idea of trying to unite all of these kingdoms together. It's not so much about revenge, it's more about understanding. There's always two sides to a coin. There's always reasons that these nations are at war, and understanding that can help eliminate that. Once we understand that we're more similar than we are different, then we can unite under the greater threat. I did like the characters too. I liked Roland as a character. I found Evan a little jarring at the beginning, but he grew on me. There were some other characters that I found really nice as well. It was kind of difficult to read their dialogue because they're all meant to have like different accents. And so trying to read like a really thick Welsh accent through text can be a little difficult, but it did provide a lot of personality for these characters because they have all these differing accents. And Evan is given a kingmaker, and he kind of takes the place, he's called Lofty, and Lofty kind of takes the place of, I think his name is Mr. Drippy in Ni no Kuni 1. I do think that Lofty, his kingmaker, went a little underutilized. They didn't give him a ton to do until more near the end of the game, and it was mostly in the form of cinematics. And so I think that they could have utilized our Kingmaker better gameplay-wise. Overall, I'm going to give this game a 3 out of 5. I think it's good. It's definitely a certain game for a certain person. Definitely could be a 5 out of 5 for that certain person who loves this type of genre, but I think for most other casual gamers such as myself, they might find this game good, but not mind-blowing. Well, folks, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Ni no Kuni II Revenant Kingdom, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Silence in the library. Shh. We'll have no rubberneckers here. You'll need the proper accreditation before I let you touch my bookie wookies, yeah?